This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. It's fight week in Nottingham. I'm joined by a returning Eddie Hearn from San Diego, looking fresh. Hair needs a cut.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But your suit fits well.
Yeah, I'm very slim these days, mate. The hair does need a trim, but that's okay. It's better. It's better a little bit longer for the crafty comb over. So incredible fight night last week in San Diego, and back for what I think will be one of the fight nights of the year on Saturday. Wood-Conlan against Lee Wood, 10,000 in Nottingham, loads of Irish, and the atmosphere is going to be banging. I think we're going to get a fantastic fight.
Before we come on to that, it baffles me how.
What baffles you?
I'll tell you what baffles me. Like, I'm not saying you've got like fortunes, but you've got a few quid in the bank, and you've not even gone to the probability of having a hair transplant. Like, why? Why?
Maybe I have. Maybe it just didn't work out. Yeah. that was a bit punchy from you.
No, I'm just saying, because I would have thought someone like you, who's very vain, like you look all right, you're a good 7 out of 10.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think if it was horrendous, I would probably get it done. But with a little bit of blow drying and crafty combing, we can get by. Do you know what I mean? So,
are you manipulating your hair?
Yes, I have been for several years.
Can we just kind of touch back before we come on to this fight week from San Diego? Yeah, I mean, we knew what we was getting there.
Yeah.
And, it delivered. Just a reflection on that fight night.
Yeah, what we got was a tremendous fight. I mean, I thought it was one of Chocolatito's best ever performances. And I really felt like Julio Cesar Martinez would have enough about him and enough power to cause him serious problems. But you actually saw a gulf in levels between a really good world champion and an elite pound-for-pound great. And look, have a word with the old sound guy over there. Yeah, you saw. I thought it was one of my favourite performances from Chocolatito. Incredible. I mean, just a real pound-for-pound great. Julio Cesar Martinez will come back now to flyweight. He'll have to fight Arroyo because that was part of the agreement, because that was a technical draw last time. It's mandatory. And then hopefully we can make the Sonny Edwards fight. The whole card brilliant. Maurizio Lara out of this world. Suleiman Sissoko in a great fight. Angel Ferrero and Bustos draw. And Sky Nicholson, brilliant debut. Mark Castro in a great fight. Diego Pacheco looked fantastic. It was a really good night of boxing.
With Maurizio Lara, now, kind of when you see when he was first put as the opponent for Warrington, I mean, if you kind of knew what Lara really was over the last year or so, in hindsight, would you have pushed for that fight with Warrington?
Absolutely not. I mean, you know, we got a list of opponents through that was sent to Warrington's team, and they felt that Lara, they didn't want a gimme. They knew it was going to be a proper fight, but what we got was a monster. And the problem is sometimes these fighters come out of Mexico and you don't know their ability. Like, he had 2 losses on the record. One was a first round knockout from a body shot that was kind of questionable. Was it low? Did he spew it? So you just look at him and think, Josh Warrington's the best featherweight in the world, so he'll be fine against Maurizio Lara. But we sort of unintentionally unearthed a beast in Maurizio Lara. And Navarrete told me, that week, he said, trust me, this kid's one of the hardest punchers I've ever faced. And I was like, blimey. And, and by the way, fair play. Obviously, Josh Warrington fought him then, but fair play. I think he deserves a lot of credit for going back in with him.
Absolutely,
absolutely. I thought that was madness. And I know that it was, a technical or no contest because of a cut, but he chose to go back in with Maurizio Lara. And guess what? He wants to go back in with him again. So that's a big fight. And, Maurizio Lara could feel a little bit hard done by that he's not the guy fighting Kiko Martinez. This is business, this is boxing. You've got Josh Warrington going to have 11,000 in Leeds, completely sold out. That's why we're doing that fight. But I feel like Maurizio Lara should get a shot as well. And I know that Josh Warrington has no problems. Probably the most disappointed person at Headingley was Josh Warrington, because he wanted to prove that he could beat Maurizio Lara. So the third fight is a big fight, but obviously all eyes on Kiko Martinez first to see if Josh Warrington can become a 2-time world champion.
You mentioned Sonny Edwards there. Looks to be like you two are like an old, not you two are an old married couple, because it's it's one way from Sonny.
Yeah. Sounds like a married couple. I don't know what he's doing really. I spoke to one of his team the other day and just said, I mean, it's a strange tactic because I've read some of the stuff and yeah, it's a weird one. Like, I think, there's better ways to try and make a fight than the way he's going about business. But, you know, I've met him, I've never had a problem with Sonny Edwards. I've always got on with him and I just find some of his tweets bizarre, really. But he's obviously got his tactic. He thinks this is a good way for me to give him an opportunity.
Is it half working?
No, not in the slightest. No, not in the slightest. I mean, it makes me think, what is he talking about? I mean, he just talks absolute bollocks non-stop. And no, it doesn't make me want to give him an opportunity to fight Julio Cesar Martinez. But we'll rise above that because it's a great fight and I want to make it. But it's very strange. Very strange. But
well, he's in action next week, obviously, on the Probellum show in Dubai on Saturday the 19th. So if he is to come through that.
Very good fighter, very difficult to beat. It's a tough fight for both of those guys. Martinez is a flyweight that sometimes he can struggle at the weight, but we saw up at Superfly, he's just not big enough up there. So we want him to unify, and I want him to fight the champions, and Sonny Edwards is obviously one of the champions, so I'm sure he'll win next week. And then, like I said, Julio Cesar Martinez has to fight Arroyo as a rematch for that mandatory, but we'll do that quite quickly, and then hopefully we can get the Sonny Edwards fight made or a fight with another champion.
Okay. Over the last 7 days, we've seen a more vocal Anthony Joshua than we have seen probably throughout his whole career. He gave a series of interviews at the influencer show from Wembley Arena the other day, which I'm sure you would have seen snippets of. He went on a Twitter spree yesterday with some comments. So, first question is, in regards to his training situation, I didn't read that as though he was confirming Angel Fernandez as his main trainer moving forward, that's going to kind of be involved as a head coach for his next two fights. I took that as he's working with Angel as he has done for the last 3 years or however long, but there will be additions to Joshua's team. Is that correct?
I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, look, he obviously likes training with Angel. He has a lot of respect for him. They're working very well at Loughborough at the moment. I think there will be people joining the camp. In what capacity, we'll have to see.
High profile, like this type of...
I don't think AJ's out there going, I need a high profile person in my corner. He wants the right person in the corner. Now, is that someone that comes in from a coaching perspective? Is it someone that comes in from a sort of mentor and looking perspective? I don't know, but, you know, it's like a soap opera, isn't it? Who will the new trainer be? And from the team's perspective, we don't see it like that. We see it as just AJ working away with who he's comfortable with working with. He's doing some great work with Angel Hernandez up in Loughborough, and he's happy. You know, I do think, as I said, there'll be additions, but who they'll be is down to AJ, and I'm sure in due course, you know, we're more focused at the moment on what's next. And obviously, he is being quite vocal at the moment, proactive, and I had a chat with him last night, and he's on it, and he wants to fight. You know, he's raring to go. He feels great. And I believe, and he believes, and the team believe, that he's going to come back and prove that he's the best heavyweight in the world. And I think he wants to be active. Obviously, as the conversation's going on with Alexander Usyk, but you know, I think the one thing that baffles me about when people talk about Anthony Joshua is this young man has boxed everyone, right? And he will box anyone. And I think he finds it quite, you know, when people are talking about, I saw some comments like, oh, he wouldn't want to fight Otto Warlin or Joe Joyce or Lewis. Like, you do know that, like, he boxed Warlin a couple of times in the amateurs, beat him. He stopped Joe Joyce in a round, right? And Joe Joyce, they're all really good fighters. Luis Ortiz, we made so many offers to Luis Ortiz to fight him. I think one was like, I can't remember the amount, 5 million, 6 million, whatever it was. And they wouldn't fight him. So don't worry about Anthony Joshua fighting anyone. He will fight anyone. He fought Alexander Usyk when people said to him, you should just swerve that because he's a really tough mandatory. No, he boxed him. Then he wants to go straight into a rematch and turn down 15 million to even go in with him. So AJ will fight absolutely anybody. And now he's come on to me and said, look, find out what's happening with Usyk, but if I have an interim fight, here are some of the names that we like. and let's make them some offers and let's progress.
From the questions that were fired to him in those interviews from Wembley last week, he didn't want to get involved in kind of the talk regarding what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, which is understandable if he doesn't want to talk about that. But the question to you is, where is this situation regarding Alexander Usyk today, and is it more likely that there will be that, use that term loosely, but interim fight before he fights Usyk as it stands today?
I think I spoke to Alex Krasuk this morning because it's hard to sort of start chasing these guys when, imagine what's going on in their life right now, you know. They're sort of sending family to places and you know, everybody's looking out for each other, and I don't think Usyk right now is thinking about fighting, and certainly fighting Anthony Joshua. What I said to Alex Krasuk was, look, we're taking the fight with Usyk. We don't want any other fight. If he needs more time till September, October, we would fight in the interim. You know, AJ wants to fight end of May, first week of June. So if you're ready for that, then brilliant. If you're not, we totally respect that and we'll give you more time. But what AJ doesn't want to do is lose the opportunity to rematch Usyk for the belts. So I think Alex and Usyk will talk over the next sort of 24, 48 hours. And they're very honest people, and you know, I think they'll be very honest with us. And it sounds like he'll need more time, understandably. But as I said to him, look, it's kind of hard to ask you this, but we kind of need to know because we've got to look at the future of Anthony Joshua and act in his best interest, and he wants to fight. So if you're not ready, we'd love to do an interim fight. If that is the case, we'll start discussions and negotiations with various people, and we'll move forward with an interim fight end of May, early June.
If, for example, he's to have this interim fight, would it be in a contract that it specifies that should he win that fight, the interim fight, then the next fight is Alexander Usyk? Would that be in the contract as such?
It depends how an addendum works for that. Obviously, there's already a contract in place, but you wouldn't want to lose the interim fight. The plan would be to win it and move forward. That's one of the risks of having an interim fight. Is a potential loss can take away what you're waiting for. So and obviously we got to look at the opponents, and I think AJ was talking last night about Ortiz, Wilder, a southpaw the same as Usyk might make sense. Joyce, AJ talked about Deontay Wilder. It's probably, I think if you said to AJ right now, who's your top choice, I think he'd probably go for Deontay Wilder. It's a big fight. I mean, it's not an interim fight, is it? Let's be honest. It could be a bigger fight than Alexander Usyk.
Fight with Wilder before he fights Alexander Usyk.
But this is, again, everyone's just going to think that I'm always sort of champion AJ, but this guy has proved time and time again he has no fear of fighting these people. He would rather fight, like a name that was mentioned recently was Trevor Bryan, for example. When I mentioned that name to AJ, he was like, what about Wilder? What about Ortiz? He's all about legacy, resume, challenges, and we're lucky as fans to have him because he's not going. Do you know how many people right now will go, listen, give me an easy touch, just someone I can knock over in a round, and then we'll move on to the Usyk fight. He's calling out the top 5, top 10, So he's given me a wish list of fighters that he would like me to inquire about. I said to him, let's just deal with Usyk, give him the respect and say, if this interim bout is a possibility, we'll move on and we'll start to look to secure an opponent.
Is the wish list the people you've just mentioned now? Is there anyone else added to that?
There's AJ's wish list, and then there's the team's wish list, and
How does that separate?
I think it's all down to the how much a fighter wants. As soon as you make the call, it's a bit like working with Canelo. I mean, the two biggest stars in the sport are Canelo and Anthony Joshua. Right, I represent both of them.
You are a fucking idiot, I swear.
True.
All right, it's true, okay, but
right.
Go on.
So, whenever you mention their name, everyone doubles their price. So, if people genuinely want the opportunity, and don't forget now, we no longer have a heavyweight belt, so you should at least half your expectations on the money. But we'll speak to the various teams and see how likely those guys are. One thing's for sure, he'll be fighting a top 10 heavyweight. Top 10, world-ranked heavyweight. Because he does it...
In what governing body?
when he won, you want. What do you want him to be top 10 in every governing body?
I'm just saying, like, it's hard to find a top 10 that's actually consistent amongst all.
Well, he will be fighting a world-ranked heavyweight, right? And by the way, I don't think he should fight the names that he's mentioning. I'll be honest with you. If this is like end of May, early June, and then 4 months later, you're fighting Alexander Usyk, I would rather one of those guys that you can go in and, you know, work with a new trainer on. But he's not really got that mentality.
Why do you have that mentality then?
Because
he'll fight anyone.
I feel like AJ he always wants to and has to prove himself against, like, he's never had, and it's not like going back to some heavyweights and the people they've fought and the resume they've had. Could be Tyson Fury, could be Deontay Wilder. They always throw in an easy touch somewhere. But when you look across from AJ, you know, if you don't, and by the way, Brazil and even Molina back then weren't, like, after Dylan White, when he boxed Klitschko, he went Takam, who come in at a week's notice because Pulev pulled out with an injury. Then he went Joseph Parker for the Unified Championship, Alexander Povetkin, Andy Ruiz, Alexander Usyk. Oh, sorry, Pulev in there as well. Alexander Usyk. I mean, that's his run. He's never had an easy fight. But I'm only being honest. Like, I should be just saying, yeah, and giving you a name that, oh, no, this is still a tough fight. But I would be saying, in a normal, balanced mind, I'm not saying we have to fight someone that's embarrassing, but do you really want to be fighting the guys that you're mentioning when we have a big ready-made fight with Alexander Usyk? AJ's answer is yes. So don't worry about it. I'm not going to have to say. He's the boss. But respect him and respect the fact that he's a throwback fighter, because no one else is doing it. Trust me, I speak to teams of people who will say, no. These are the guys we prefer. Look at who he's mentioning. Wilder, Joyce, Ortiz, Warrington, like all these guys. They're dangerous fights.
I will have to bring this up. Two of those opponents that you mentioned that are in Joshua's resume, which you include in a kind of a run when you talk about his resume, and I agree with his run has been phenomenal. In Brazil and Molina, also former opponents of Deontay Wilder as well.
Yeah, but I just think when you look at the run of fights, when AJ boxed Molina, it was only like a year before he had Deontay Wilder all over the place in that fight. Now he's not even in the conversation. Brazil back then was a good solid opponent, but he went Dillian White, Brazil, Molina, Vladimir Klitschko, Joseph Parker, Carlos Takam, Alexander Povetkin, Ruiz, Pulev, Usyk. Fuck me. But back then, Brazil was a solid fighter. But even if you want to take those two out, it doesn't matter. Look at the resume, look at the run of fights from Klitschko. It's unbelievable. No easy touches. All of those guys, top 10 heavyweights in the world. And he's the best resume in heavyweight boxing, bar none. Don't even compete any other resumes. But I'm not looking for praise. I'm just saying it's quite remarkable that even now, because he's a fighter and I think his back's up a little bit where he's saying, right, okay, I've got to beat you, don't rate me anymore. Give me the guys. I'll go through them. And I love it. But I'm reading the messages from him going, you know, you sure? Sure you want those guys? Because as I said, you've got a massive money fight against Usyk. Many wouldn't even fight. Many would just wait till September, October, or whenever it'll be. So he's a throwback fighter, and it's amazing that he wants to challenge himself against these kind of fighters when he's got a fight like Usyk in the waiting.
Frank Warren did throw Joyce's name in the mix, and Joyce put a social media post out yesterday. Joshua kind of looked like he took offence to people suggesting that he would duck Joyce in his Twitter spree yesterday. But that's unrealistic, isn't it? A fight with Joyce.
It is a name that he put on his list to me. But look, how much money would they want? Would they try and price themselves out of the fight? I know they'll say they won't. But I think AJ's reaction to that was like, no disrespect to Joyce, but you think I'm afraid of Joyce? Like, look who I've been in with time and time again. They boxed in the amateurs. He he stopped Joe Joyce in a round, but they had some wars. I mean, some wars, and Joe Joyce is a very tough fighter. So I think because of the different platforms and like that, probably more unlikely than AJ would like to think, really, just being honest. But he would have no problem fighting Joe Joyce. No problem.
So, whoever he fights, just the final one of this, I'm assuming you'll still go to a stadium. Like, how do you then now put Anthony Joshua in an arena, wherever that is?
Go to the O2. I mean,
the O2?
Maybe.
16,800?
Yeah, but we just charge about $5,000 a ticket. It's a joke.
Joke. I'll say it's a joke.
Before.
But surely you could...
We would probably go. I mean, I said to Frank earlier about going to Watford at Vicarage Road. I mean, maybe we do something different. Maybe he fights in America. I don't know. I mean, at the moment, everyone's getting carried away with this conversation. Let's just see, first of all, where we are in terms of Alexander Usyk. Give him the respect. We have a contract with Alexander Usyk to fight him before the end of June, and we don't want that obligation to go away. So the priority for Anthony is to fight for the world heavyweight title again, but he wants to fight, so we'll see.
What's your thoughts on Vladimir Klitschko's comments regarding Dmitry Bivol?
I think it's difficult, you know. I mean, it's hard because I've got a relationship with Dmitry Bivol. I know what this opportunity means to him, and we follow the guidelines that are in place, really. And the guidelines that are in place at the moment are that individuals are allowed to compete. You know, you've seen that DCMS over here. That's their advice. In the US, you see in the NHL, you know, lots of Russian hockey players playing. Obviously, whilst that is open for those athletes, I would like Dmitry Bivol to get his opportunity. I understand what's going on, and we are taking steps as a business actually to stop and halt certain parts of our business in the territory itself. Dmitry Bivol lives in America, trains in America, you know, and again, it's very difficult when you know someone, and also he made his stance clear on the situation in terms of how he feels about it, you know, and he's a guy that advocates for peace. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk about federations and teams, but nothing actually for individuals in America right now, and everyone has a different stance on it.
So the board have made a statement today, haven't they, regarding
fighters licensed by that federation, not I believe fighters, but licensed by those federations. So you could have a fighter that's licensed by Californian Commission, for example. I believe the board would let those fighters fight, but it's more federation teams. Obviously, you know, we've already got the rulings in place, no flags, no anthems, you know, all this kind of stuff. But at the moment, obviously that fight will progress.
You announced your show for April the 16th, the AO Arena in Manchester. As expected, we kind of knew it was going to be Chris Van Heerden. Was the delay in announcing that because you were exploring the situation regarding Kell Brook and Amir Khan?
Yes, that was the only delay, because we were supposed to announce a week before, and Conor just said to me, I'd like to fight Kell Brook. Could you at least see if that's a possibility? So we said, no problem, we'll delay for a week. We went through, we made Kell Brook an offer, spoke to Amir Khan's lawyer, etc., and it's just not there.
Is it true the figure that was touted from Kell Brook, rumoured?
What was that?
There's reports that he asked for 10 million to fight.
Yeah. It was some way beyond our offer. But look, I think that now Amir Khan's activated the rematch clause, which is, I think, more of a strategic play. But Kell's
Are you convinced of that?
What, that it's a strategic play?
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, Amir should never fight again, but maybe he wants another payday. Maybe he thinks in his mind he can beat Kell Brook, but it's a nothing fight now. You know, no one wants to see that fight again, but if it has to happen, it has to happen, and we'll wait after that. We're ready. You know, we have an opportunity. The only fight for Kell Brook, in my opinion, is Conor Benn. Right? And I think he can make a lot of money for that fight. It's a very good fight. I don't think he wants to fight Khan again. I don't think he wants to fight Eubank. I don't think he wants to fight Thurman, I don't see the point. So hopefully Kell realises that that's the perfect fight for him, and we'll see what happens with the Amir Khan situation. But obviously, if they have to rematch, we'll have to wait around.
Van Heerden seems a similar level to opposition to what Conor Benn has previously fought in his last 3 or 4 fights.
I think a little bit beyond that. I mean,
why? Explain why.
Because I think he's boxed at a very high level. I think he's tough. He's a southpaw, which is the first competitive southpaw Conor Benn's faced in his career, and I think that's a big test in itself. I think he's a good fighter, and I think it's a tougher fight than Algieri. It's definitely a tougher fight than Samuel Vargas. It's definitely a tougher fight than Granados. So, also, I know it was a year and 3/4 months ago, whatever it was. Van Heerden's last fight was against Jaron Ennis.
18 months ago?
Yeah, something like that. But it's still his last fight, and that was headlining on Showtime. And Conor Benn's not Jaron Ennis right now. I think he's got all the potential to be a brilliant welterweight, but Jaron Ennis is there. Jaron Ennis might be the best welterweight in the world.
But that fight didn't really play out to get a gauge of where either fighter was.
But I'm saying, look, the fight was a technical decision, technical draw or whatever it was, because it clashed of heads. But what I'm saying is, I feel like Conor Benn is 18 months behind Jaron Ennis, right? Or maybe 12 months. And 18 months ago, and Chris Van Heerden's last fight, he boxed Jaron Ennis, headlining on Showtime, and it was all right for Jaron Ennis. Now you've got a young welterweight in Conor Benn who now fights Chris Van Heerden, and that's not good enough. Trust me, this is a good fight. Van Heerden is tough as old boots. He will give everything, and he won't take a step backwards. He won't box conservatively. He won't try and box and move. He will come to fight, and you'll get a really good fight for Conor Benn. As I said, southpaw, good challenge. Chris Billam-Smith against Tommy McCarthy rematch on that card as well. Zelfa Barrett challenging Korbanov for the European title. Loads more on the card as well, and it's going to be a big night. And Conor Benn's a superstar. We're seeing that through our numbers, through the engagement, and this is a big fight. And look, last time he headlined in Liverpool in front of 7,000. Now he's going to Manchester. What other fighter can do that? Boxing all around the country, headlining and drawing those kind of crowds. And he's still learning.
Is it fair to say with Conor Benn, just finally on this, that Conor Benn literally will, as you know, fight anyone, but you and the team have got to kind of manoeuvre that into
This is it. The last one before he jumps into like a really big name and big risk.
Like a Kell Brook.
Kell Brook, Adrian Broner.
Did you rule out Amir Khan?
No, I actually thought that the other day, but I don't know. I think that I feel like Khan's looking at it and going, we've actually got Kell Brook snookered here because we got the rematch, but they're sort of saying, but if there's another fight, we don't mind allowing that fight to take place if you give us a few quid. So, I don't know. But Kell's a bit snookered, really, because what he should have been doing is getting straight back in the gym and going, let's fight Conor Benn in the summer. That's what he should have done. But, maybe he won't fight anymore. Maybe he don't want to fight anymore. But I know Kell Brook, and if Kell Brook was making the decisions, I think he'd sit down and meet with me and get a deal made and get this fight made in the summer.
Well, it didn't look like the Whyte Fury promotion missed you, to be fair, mate.
I don't know. You don't think it would have been 10 times bigger if I was there?
I would have liked to have seen you there just to see the engagement amongst the parties. But what I'll say is, in regards to ticket sales, obviously they did extremely well.
Yeah, they did. I mean, there was a lot of tickets given and sold to other entities, shall we say, but this is the way sometimes these big shows work. I think it's done very well. There's a lot of tickets left, coach packages and stuff like that, they're hard to shift. We've found that in the past.
Is that different from when you've sold out Wembley?
No. Well, no, you only sell it out when you sell all the tickets. That's a sellout. Do you know what I mean? So, and we've sold it out, but this isn't sold out yet.
The allocated tickets they had initially are sold.
Still a lot of tickets left on general sale via coach packages. But look, I'm over the moon.
You're unreal.
Yeah, but you can't see it hasn't sold out.
If it's no different from how tickets are normally sold at shows, then yeah,
you either sell out or you don't. That's what I'm saying. That it's done really, really well, but hasn't sold out.
So you're surprised?
A little bit, yeah.
Why? Fury and Whyte. Come on.
Maybe. No, it's just that Fury's never been a ticket seller, but his profile over the last couple of years has gone through the roof. So, and this is justification of that. It just shows that he is a big star.
Well, look, it's a great fight. Will you be there? AJ said he wants to be there.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, again, it's all down to Dillian Whyte in what capacity I'm going to be there. I'll be supporting him 100%. And yeah, I just hope the fight happens, and I believe Dillian Whyte can win.
Sorry, I have to pick up on that. Why do you say that?
Not in any way, but just these things, Fury's track record's not great in fights. There's a lot of arguments still going on, you know that, you've been accustomed to them. It's not, I wonder if it'll happen or not. I'm sure it'll happen, but any fight, you know, I hope it happens. Wood-Conlan, I hope this happens this weekend.
Okay. Let's kind of come on to Wood-Conlan now. It's one of them, isn't it?
It's a real,
What's going to happen?
Yeah, it's a real 50-50. It's a great fight. You know, you've got Lee Wood. I mean, first things first, can't wait to get back in Nottingham. I mean, 10,000 tickets sold for Wood v Conor. And this city's been dying out for a big night for a long time, dating back nearly 10 years to Carl Froch against Usyk Butte. So this is a massive fight. Probably 3,500 Irish, maybe 4,000 Irish travelling over. Go on, sorry.
How good's your trivia? Let's have a look. When was your last card in Nottingham?
Lee Wood against Ryan Doyle.
Correct.
3 years ago.
2019.
Yeah, and before that, Carl Froch boxed Usyk Butte.
Incorrect.
No, against Usyk Mack. Let me finish.
Okay, go on.
So Carl Froch boxed Usyk Butte in May 2012, right? And then after that, he boxed Usyk Mack, probably like October, November. And then he boxed Mikhail Kessler at the O2 in May the following year. How are you feeling now?
Okay, no, good. No, because you kept referring to Butte and...
No, it's the last fight like this here.
Never forget Usyk Mack.
Usyk Mack.
Usyk Mack.
I will never forget Usyk Mack. Went on to have a very interesting career.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll move on from that. But the card itself, big test for Sandy Ryan.
Yeah, massive.
Like, literally, game as anything.
You've got Kevin Ajako, who I think could be the next big star to come out of Ireland. He's got a very good fight against Rubio, tough fight. You've got Terry Harper, who goes into a very, very big fight against Yabalenda as well. I think it's a tougher fight than Heather Hardy. He doesn't quite have the same sort of name power, star power as Heather Hardy. Sandy Ryan has got a brilliant fight. Brilliant fight against Farias, 2-division world champion. Very tough fight. And Gary Cully against Miguel Vasquez, another great
Very
fight.
interesting.
There's a lot of people that feel that Gary Cully is a future world champion. And it's a really, really good fight. You saw Miguel Vasquez against Lewis Ritson, you know, during the bubble activity. He won that fight. And that's a really interesting fight for him. And it's a really good card, all about the main event, obviously. And it's just, you know, how good is Michael Conor? I think that's really what we're going to find out. He's never boxed at the level of Lee Wood. How many more levels can Lee Wood go through? The answer is maybe many in his home city. And I think it's going to be a brilliant fight.
Just a couple of things quickly before we finish, because the press is about to start. What do you think of this situation regarding the Speaker of the House of Commons getting involved in?
Absolutely. I mean,
Catterall and Taylor
so
fight?
this is the local MP of
Lindsay Hoyle. Yeah.
reporting this decision by the judges to the police. I mean, I've never heard anything so ridiculous in all my life. I mean, I thought the decision was terrible, so I'm reporting it to the police. What planet does this individual live on? This is the problem. People have no touch with reality as well. British Boxing Board of Control, do your job here. Make your inquiries, investigations, questions to the judges, and let's see a report. Let's see the answers to make some change. I mean, I can't imagine you're going to go down the local police station and say, could you have a word with Ian John Lewis, please, regarding offences to boxing? I mean, like, what? It's just ridiculous.
Sorry, just cut out. Go on, many people.
Well, Bob Arum's come out and said Josh Taylor won by 2 or 3 rounds. Dan Raphael said it was a really close fight. Like, there are, but, I mean...
So the board have downgraded Ian John Lewis.
I didn't see that.
Well, just so you can just see that quickly.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, okay. Action.
Does it help Jack Catterall though?
No, but now, it's something about, that's done. Now his team have got to work with the governing bodies to say, how does Jack Catterall get another opportunity? He should be the unified or undisputed world champion. He's not. Now he's got to move forward with his career. So, but at least action. That's what we want to see.
Right, you're wanted.
Okay.
He's wanted? Okay. Eddie, thank you for your time as always, and roll on Nottingham.
Cheers.